Evening. Welcome to the November 27th, 2023 Union County School Board meeting. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. First item is Pledge of Allegiance, and Miss Danny Davis, would you please come forward and lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Danny. Next item is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'd like to discuss a couple of them on the consent agenda. There's number 6 and number 14. For
Okay.
discussion, please.
Okay, so we're gonna pull out 6 and 14 for discussion. All right. Other than that, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Gatton made the motion, Mr. Clifton seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed. Next item is recognitions, 2022, 2023 retirees.
We would like to give honor where honor is due, certainly with our employees who retired last school year. Normally, we would do this a little bit earlier, but because of some changes in personnel we had here, we're just now ready to do that. But how fitting it is, with it being November and the month of Thanksgiving, that we give thanks to these employees. So we will be recognizing each one with a certificate, and then also a commemorative watch to thank them for their service, their dedicated service to Union County Public Schools. So many were not able to attend tonight, but I'm going to go ahead and announce each one so that they get their recognition. But for those who are here, if you'll come forward, we'll present you with your certificate and your watch. And if you'll hang around, we'll get a group photo of you. So first of all, Melinda Beecham, Judy Douglas, Gary Hendrickson, Trish Holbrook, next is Antoinette Houchins, Peggy Omer, Melissa Oxford, Kelly Rideout, Sally Utley, Stephen Wimpy, and Tawanda Watkins. Now, she is not here tonight, but she did say that Mr. James Watkins, her husband, and finally, Miss Mary Willett. But we certainly thank all of our retirees, and we'll get a picture with you, Ms. Holbrook, with Michelle.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is superintendent's report. Ms. Sheffer.
Thank you, Ms. Holbrook, for being here. We appreciate all your years of service. I know my own child can speak a little bit better because of Ms. Holbrook, for sure. We appreciate that. So on superintendent report tonight, first I had attached our, the Union County School District had over 1,000 participants to take the online Light the Way pledge for School Safety Week. So I attached that for you to see in your portal there. And that pledge was about understanding that school safety starts with me, preparing for emergencies, being a good digital citizen, and showing kindness. So I appreciate the schools and their effort to work with Kentucky Center for School Safety to make that happen for our students. And then the second thing I have tonight, I want to ask Sean Winders to come forward. Sean Winders, sorry. Sean Winders to come forward and share a little bit about our empowered teaching and student-centered strategies that he has started. And Nick Wright should be here too, somewhere in the crowd. There's Mr. Wright in the back, who's helping with technology. So Sean, I'm going to turn it over to you because we have, these young men have been working with teachers on empowering them through technology and encouraging leadership in that area, but also through our professional learning communities in the schools. So I just wanted them to share a little bit about their boot camp that's coming up and things they've been doing. And then Sean will also give a little bit on student achievement report later on, new things that have come up since then.
All right, so what me and Nick are going to be doing, we wanted to give opportunities for teachers to grow in the direction of focusing on changes that can alter the way we teach, that's going to put a focus back onto our students. So when we talk about focusing on students, obviously that's our gear towards educating our kids, is always geared towards them. However, we tend to do this in a more traditional classroom style where the teacher is the main focus within the room, and we want to kind of switch that paradigm to where the kids are that center of attention. So we're going to switch from a traditional view to a student-centered learning paradigm.
So in the traditional sense of education, the teacher has always been the sole person of knowledge that gives it to the students. And with the what we're trying to do is to flip that and let students have more of a choice and a voice in their own education. And choice gets the students, what am I interested in? Where do I want to go with my education? We're learning math. How can I make that important into my life and how I'm doing things? It really empowers them to take an active ownership over their education, which we know is one of the biggest struggles. If we can get students to actively care about what they're doing, it makes our jobs as teachers 1,000 times more effective. It also gives the students a chance to connect their learning to real-world problems that are real-world problems to them, and also gives them a chance to collaborate together and work on projects like we all do in our normal daily tasks as teachers.
So why this fits so well with technology is we can adapt the classroom a lot easier with the different tools and resources we have. If we want to have a student have that opportunity to actually speak in a classroom, well, instead of stopping class and actually having a presentation day where everybody is pausing for that, we can do a program like Flipgrid or what's Microsoft Flip now, where a kid can actually record themselves on a Chromebook and submit that to a teacher. At any point in time, the teacher could open that up for other students to hear that student speak on their own time, or the teacher could just review that. If a student was really kind of in a shyer setting and doesn't want to be up in front of everybody, they can actually record themselves, turn it into a teacher. Teacher can listen to their presentation, watch them present in a way that's not disruptive to the classroom flow or what a kid might view as an embarrassing situation. If they want to do more presentation styles, they can design things with Google Slides, Canva, Pear Deck, Nearpod. We have all these different platforms that students could embrace that if they have an interest in presenting in that way or learning in that style, they can pursue that more freely with the way we do things with technology now. So we want to empower our teachers to present those tools to our students and let those students have those voices as well. So what we're gonna be doing is we'll have a boot camp opportunity for the next couple of weeks where teachers are gonna come in once a week and we're gonna work first on student-centered, doing activities where they're gonna have those toolkits to actually give kids choices within the classroom. Then we're gonna proceed into doing more of a self-paced style and let teachers see how we can actually change up the way we teach things to let students actually travel at their own pace. How far can they go ahead of a teacher and learn at their own rate instead of falling behind, or sorry, not falling behind, staying at the pace of what a teacher would set. The issue with that style of that traditional method is if a kid could fly ahead and go so much further and we're holding them back, that is a problem. And so we need to learn more on how to diversify our classroom to let the ones who can go ahead, the ones who want to stay with the teacher, stay with the teacher, but never allow a kid to actually fall behind. And so if we're letting kids get ahead, then those are kids we're not having to focus our time on as well. We can actually focus on a child who potentially could have been actually falling behind. And then we're going to move next into project-based learning, which is not just a presentation at the end of a lesson, but the lesson in itself. The kids are going to learn through struggle, learn through trial, learn through a desire to complete a project rather than you've taught me, and now I'm actually presenting what you taught me. This is going to be a student's showcase of what they've learned through the project itself. And we're going to try to wrap up in January with kind of seeing, okay, we've let you have these toolkits, what have you done with them, and let's come back together as teachers and discuss what worked, what was effective, what can we share with each other. And so hopefully we can do these off and on throughout the year too. But that's going to be our goal.
Any questions for Sean or Nick?
Sounds, I'm interested to see how many different levels people feather out to in there, because I think there'll be several. And I think the challenge is for the teacher to keep up with all the different levels,
Yes.
not for the kids to excel.
Something else we have coming up, and we just found out today, we were approved to do the self-paced model at our KISTE, the Kentucky Technology Conference. So we will actually, me and Nick will be presenting on that at the state level in March.
That's a nice thing you said about a challenge for the teachers. Those kids that can push forward, when we give them a little bit of knowledge and allow them to go further with it, will actually make it easier for teachers. In my opinion, because as the music teacher, that is what I used to do. My students who could achieve faster in music, you give them a harder part, that way I can focus with the kids who don't achieve. And actually made my job a lot easier, and that's our goal, is to how can we make their job easier and more effective at the same time?
As long as the math teacher's prepared to answer calculus questions, that's the thing.
Yes, that's right.
That's why we have AI these days.
There's a program called Khan Academy, does a terrific job.
I'm familiar with that.
Sean was actually a math teacher. Sean, how many right now do we have certified Google teachers? Do you know?
The closing number, I think we were up to 65 certified now. Some of
Oh, that's
those have
great.
moved on to other roles and stuff, but that, most of the teachers who we have coming in are coming in with a little bit more familiarity with Google and stuff. A lot of colleges are actually switching to, that's their platform they're going to as well. So we're getting more and more teachers who are ready for that, just not knowledgeable on how to turn around and adapt that into the classroom.
We have several level 2. I know we talked with Dean Whaley at Murray about the need for more Google certification as they start their teacher prep program. And I think we're seeing that now, which is really good too. Because if not the students, they know it for sure.
And that's something else, they're opening more pathways for students to actually get those certifications as well, instead of it just being geared toward teachers. There's now individualized student programs that we can actually implement too.
Sure. Okay, thank you all. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
That's all.
Thank you. That's it. All right, thank you, Ms. Shepherd. Next item is attendance report. Dr. Hancock.
Good evening. So for our third month of attendance, Morganville had a membership average of 334 students with average daily attendance of 94.85. Sturgis, 357.7 students at a rate of 93.75. Uniontown, 204 students, 94.92%. Middle school, almost 400, 92.5%. High school is 685 at 92%. UCLA almost to 30 at 94% attendance. And that's significantly higher than it has been in the past, and that is because of the virtual students. So not all of their students are attending in person, so that's made a big difference in that number there. Preschool, almost 110 students at 90% attendance. Victory Tech is at 65 students with 100%. The district average for the month was 2,181 students, almost 82. And we stayed in the 93% range. So every month this school year so far, we've been in the 93% range. Any questions?
I have a question. Are you able to easily go back and look kind of how we're trending, this month, a year ago, or this month, 3 years ago, this month prior to COVID? I just like to see that sometime.
For the time that I've been UP, so this is the third year.
Okay.
I can show you.
Sometime, nothing urgent, just, Thank you. How we're doing, yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Hancock. Next item is Student Achievement Report. Mr. Winters.
Now, I can just name off numbers, but it's not gonna be as fun.
See, I know middle school has some new ones too. From where you are, is it? From where you are, is it?
All right, this is a trimmed down version of what we had presented previously for our achievements on CASA scores. So what I've done is I've highlighted everywhere we saw large or significant levels of growth. So overall, our performance as a school district, we saw tremendous gains, and even in the areas that we didn't have gains, they were very minute levels of drop or maintaining things. Our overall performance, UES actually increased their score by 11.6 points. LES did 10.8, UCHS did 10.4, and UCMS did 3.5. Those are significant levels of growth between 2001 and 2002. Now, the big thing with growth this year is that counted in as additional bonus points for our overall performance levels for our scores. So it's even some of the data that I originally presented, we are actually hit some higher level scoring on some of those different areas. Our reading and math performances, UCHS increased by 10.6, UES 6.2, SES 4.8, and LES 3.1. And once again, those levels in those specific areas, even though some of them aren't those like 10s across the board, that's hard to continuously improve on, and the fact that we are showing growth on that is showing high levels of efforts on our teachers that have been made. Science, social studies, and writing performance all gets grouped in together. LES had a tremendous level of gain, and so did UES. We had 21.2 from LES, 19 from UES, 8.2 from UCMS, and the high school had an increase of 0.4. Our climate and culture survey that the students are asked, we had UCHS had an increase of 5, UES had an increase of 4.8, SES had a 3.8 increase, and MES had an increase of 0.2. Post-secondary readiness for the high school had a extreme growth of 25.6. So Mr. Jackson and Ms. Nelson, they went through and they looked at all the different ways that the CTE programs food count, all those additional shadowing programs, different things that we could actually implement for our students that would actually give them credit in these areas of career readiness. And increase of 25.6 set them actually up to a 109, and this actually caps out at 120.
I know it was impressive at the graduation ceremony
Yeah.
for all of the.
Everybody's coming through with something listed in accreditation for them. Now, part of the hard thing here is, like I said, this capped out at 120, so maintaining this, we might see a little drop in next year, but when we're setting that high, that's kind of a predictable outcome. But overall, you just saw the growth across the board, majority of our schools in different fields were bouncing around, but we saw a high level of improvement overall. I do have some individual data points if anybody has any questions on or wants to look at something specific, but otherwise, you see we are making those strides and the headways in the areas that we definitely need to.
Sean, would there be anything else that's gonna change between now and the spring that we haven't been made aware of yet?
As far as everything I've been pointing out, no, we do have a couple of our graduating students that weren't initially listed on our reports, and even in the school report card, it's still not showing. But if we actually dive into where the numbers are coming from, those students have been listed as graduates for us.
Okay.
Yeah. Just school report card still hasn't come around to getting those updated in. But as far as like modifications for how they're going to be doing the scores and stuff like that, nothing officially has come through that I've seen yet.
Okay, thank you.
And that was the big thing for this year is the growth addition to that, and whether they're seeing the success what they wanted from or that, I mean, it could change again next year and they remove it back or modify it again. You know, some of our schools where we saw growth, SES is an example of this. We saw growth in multiple categories, yet they're listed as a score dropping, and that's just because they changed the index. The school itself had performed improvement in majority of the areas, and they had no significant drops, yet they were listed as a school that dropped on their index. It's just the way they played with the numbers and stuff. The school is actually showing growth and improvement across the board, but it didn't show on the overall.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the way the state does it.
No. Change every year.
It's hard to follow it.
They never compare apples to apples, that's the problem with that, and it's frustrating to me, I don't know about you guys, but.
Yes.
Except as the DAC, yes.
I think it speaks volumes of the scores this year from in the past, because how keeping these kids in the classroom physically makes a huge difference. I mean, it's awesome. Kudos to the students and the teachers all the way around.
PPP for that one.
Tara's out getting them this morning.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank
you.
you.
Sean.
Hey, while you're up here, I was gonna say something at the end of this meeting about, since you're standing up here, I just wanted to say thank you for reaching out to all of us whenever these scores came out and offered to meet with us one-on-one individually to go over any questions and concerns we had. I know I took advantage of that, I'm sure others did as well, so I appreciate the time and reaching out and doing that. And also back to the technology side, getting those meetings posted on YouTube so quickly. I think last week's meeting's already on there. And these microphones, the sound quality is a lot better than it was at the
Yes,
beginning.
we,
So
with
thank
the
you.
microphones, we reran the whole wiring for it, and it does seem to be working. Thank you.
It's much better, I appreciate it, yeah, on all those. Thanks.
All right, next is SBDM reports, Uniontown Elementary School, Ms. Tack.
Okay, so these kiddos took on this whole presentation on their own with the help of Ms. Morgan. They created their own slides and they decided what they wanted to tell you about UES. So I'm gonna let them first. You all go down and tell your names and then we'll start, okay? Let me tell them what grade you're in.
I'm Ozzy Warren and I'm in 4th grade. I'm Danny Davis and I'm in 5th grade. I'm Evie Thompson and I'm in 5th grade. I'm Mackenzie Walters and I'm in 4th grade. I'm Chloe Ward and I'm in 4th grade. I'm Cameron Ward and I'm in 4th grade.
And I should probably mention that these students were identified in the area of leadership for our gifted and talented program.
We're from Uniontown Elementary School, and we're gonna be presenting what makes UES the best. UES is the best because of our leaders. First, you get a certificate, next you get dojo points, and you also get your picture on the wall and on the Facebook page. I think UES is the best because of our behavior. UES has outstanding behavior. One way we can see our behavior is dojo. On dojo, we can earn and lose dojo points. We can also get school rewards and classroom rewards. One reward is 100 dojo points. You can be principal for the day. I think UES is the best because of our awesome rewards. For AR, we get to go bowling and go to Smothers Park. For math facts, we get a snow cone. At the end of the year, if we've mastered all of our math facts, we get a fun party. For sight words, we get to write our name on the sight word board. I think UES is the best because Friday competitions. How you get the Friday competitions are the dojo points that you can earn. Some of the competitions are knockout and the hula hoop contests. We do this because we want to reward good behavior. UES is the best because of the amazing academic team. On the academic team, we do a quick recall, we take content tests, and we do competitions against other schools. UES is the best because of the fun activities. One of the fun activities is Walk to School Day, another is Carl's Christian Club, and Grandpa's Bingo. Thank you for all you do for UES.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great
Good
job.
job.
Do you have any questions for our kids?
I have a question. Does dojo stand for anything?
I was gonna say, they might want to explain dojo.
Yeah.
It's like this app where you can so you can get on there and it tells you how many you have, and if you lost any, it'll if you lost one, it'll show -1.
Okay, so what do you have to do to earn points and take points away? I think that's what they're talking about. Why do you have dojo? What does it do? Like, what do you have to do to earn points?
Maybe tell
Or
them
lose
the
points.
3 R's, your points are arranged.
For the 3 R's, it's be respectful, be responsible, and ready to learn.
So
So
you get
each
points for that.
behavior is based around those.
And do your teachers give you that based on those 3 R's? They award you points?
Not just the teachers, but anyone in the
Anybody,
building.
anybody in the school that sees them demonstrating those 3 R's?
Oh, that's.
It's an online program, and so it goes to the parents, and then the kids can actually get on there and see their
That's
own
neat.
points, and then, whenever the teacher awards a point, it makes a chime, like a fun chime, so they know someone in the class is just
Has
earned a
Got a
dojo point.
job.
And then if they lose a dojo point, it's like,
Now, I don't wanna ask this, but how do you lose dojo points?
If you're not following the rules or you're playing around in the hallway, you can lose dojos.
Okay, alright. Alright, well, I hope you all get lots of dojo points.
they all wanna be the principal, and like.
Yes, yes, that's
Dun, dun.
exciting.
We have several different levels of
Mhm.
prizes,
Yeah.
and that a lot of these kiddos are saving it.
All of you guys gonna be on the academic team?
No.
It's like about 50-50.
They said it real quick.
They're
Does this tie in with maybe, do y'all have PBIS? Does
PBIS.
that tie in with PBIS as well? Okay,
We just started utilizing Class Dojo this year,
okay.
as part of our PBIS.
Okay. Alrighty, well,
So
thank
the
you
6
guys.
of you can be a principal, because if you look around, Miss Angie was at Uniontown, Mr. Blaine back there, he was one of my students when he was your age, and now he's principal. So we always talk about, it's going to happen, we're looking forward to you being the principal one day. And if not at Uniontown, we have other schools too. Go ahead and get you started teaching and learning today.
Yeah.
But it's
Thank you,
possible, so
guys.
keep up the good work,
Yes.
thank you.
Good job.
Awesome work.
Thank you.
Sweet.
They are sweet.
Tough act to follow there, Mr. Taylor.
Yeah, Mr. Tackett.
And then there's Womp Womp.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had
Oh,
to. I couldn't resist it.
Athletic report, Mr. Tackett. All right.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I need to be able to choose where I'm going to Jennings, that's a tough act to follow. Just to wrap up from our fall sports seasons are over now. Both our boys and girls golf teams had great years. They showed, really good improvement throughout the season. The girls team won the Kentucky 2A Championships sectional tournament and competed in the state tournament. Last year, they were the first team, from Union County to represent our school at the 2A state tournament. And I'll just give you a little bit of background about the 2A state tournament, we've never talked about that. The Kentucky 2A Championships is a spinoff of the All-A Classic. The All-A Classic takes the 120 smallest schools in the state. Kentucky doesn't class anything other than football, cross-country, and track. So it's really hard for smaller schools to compete with the schools the size of Anderson with 2,500 kids. So the All-A Classic takes the 120 smallest schools. I had an idea that I would like to see. Well, I really was hoping it would push classification, but it hasn't done it yet. It might. But I wanted to see the mid-sized schools get an opportunity. So with the help of Matt Bell, I created the Kentucky 2A Championships. It's for schools less than 1,000 students, all the way down to the 121. All A takes the 120 smallest, so 121 up to 1,000 students are in the 2A. It's taken off. It's had great growth. We've got a 12-person board of directors that stretches from Pikeville to Murray. Can't say Pikeville to Paducah because there's no Class A or 2A schools in Paducah, but we do have a representative of Callaway County, Greg Butler. We've got a representative of Butler County, Belfry, sorry. So anyway, and I currently serve, well, not currently, I am the executive director of that organization. So it was nice to see one of our teams finally make it after we started that 6 years ago. So to see one of our teams make it last year, it was neat. I'll go to volleyball since it kind of plays into that. Volleyball had one of the most successful seasons in school history. They finished with a winning record. They won the Kentucky 2A Championships volleyball sectional tournament and competed in the 2A state tournament. We took 2 pet buses and had a tremendous crowd. Our students, that was the talk of the tournament, was the Union County student section. So it was really neat. We appreciate Ms. Shepherd and Coach Smith for helping. Coach Smith helped drive that, so we appreciate that. Our cross country team had a great year. We had 2 students advance to the state tournament. UCMS student Isabella Graham and then Union County High School sophomore Tristan Coy, and Tristan placed 15th in the state tournament, which is a huge feat. Our soccer team didn't have the best year in terms of win-loss record. They did defeat Webster County in the district tournament to advance to the regional tournament, but Mr. Nikolai's done a tremendous job. And you can't view the job he's done based on win-loss record, in my opinion. They work extremely hard. He does things the right way. His kids are very respectful. He's got a great program that doesn't always show in win-loss. And it's really hard when your most success is going to come from your feeder programs. That's how you build successful programs. That's why our wrestling team is in the shape it's in. If we didn't start reading until 9th grade, we would be the best readers. Our football team wrapped up another extremely impressive season last week. They lost the Hart County Regional Championship game. They finished 11-2. Coach John has passed Charlie Bob Paris to become the all-time wins leader in school history, which is extremely impressive in 8 years. He was also named the 3A District 1 Coach of the Year, and Jerry Johnson was the 3A District 1 Player of the Year. Outstanding year for both of us.
Awesome, yeah.
Jaron became the single season rushing leader. He set the school record for single season rushing yards. And I hate to predict the future, but I was just looking at stats, and if Jaron were to run for 1,200 yards next year, which, to put in perspective, he ran for 2,000 this year, he would be the school's all-time leading rusher and missed his entire sophomore season to an ACL injury.
Yeah,
Pretty impressive.
that's great.
And our cheerleading team competes Friday, December 8th at 4:40 at George Rogers Clark High School in Winchester. In the state competition, they're in they're in game day small, and they won the regional tournament last week.
That's
You guys got any
awesome.
questions?
So that's changed. That's at Winchester, not the state horse park, right?
The cheerleading is staying at Winchester George Rogers Clark. Wrestling is going back to the
State.
George Park.
No, we had a couple to do that, so don't anybody get confused on that because cross country went back too, so
Cross country goes back to.
cheer is still at
Oh, they're
Winchester.
back to George Park, too.
Everything except the cheer.
And it's outdoor. The horse park, there was some issues with, not taking the best care of the facility by some schools, and the horse park didn't want the tournament. KSA has worked with, some of those schools that might have been a little bit issue and mended that relationship with the horse park, and the horse park's willing to take that wrestling state championship back.
That's great.
do.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Tackett.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. We got a middle school basketball game, we'll get back over to that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next item is approval of the minutes. Do I have approval of minutes?
So moved.
Mr. Gatton made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hagan made a second. All in favor?
Uh,
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Next item is approval of financial report. Ms. Morris.
Okay, we'll begin the review of our financial statement for October, beginning with a review of our cash. So 4 months into our fiscal year, we ended cash on October 31st with a balance across all funds reported by our balance sheet of $25.9 million. That's a decline of approximately $256,000 from the prior year. Cash reported by the bank was $25.7, and reconciling items represented by outstanding checks was just under $285,000. When you look at kind of the most significant changes in the cash by fund, when you look at the reconciliation, again, cash decreased $256,000. Our general fund decreased $263,000. So that was the primary driver behind our decrease in cash for the year. But we just received our check today from the sheriff's office for first tax collection of this fiscal year. Everybody, the discount date was November 1st, so I'll report on that next month when we record all that into our financials. So review of activity by fund, beginning with general fund. Month-to-date revenue was $1.1 million. That includes our SEEK payment of $657,000. And that was a decrease of $30,000 from the prior month. So based on our data pull by the KDE with our enrollment information in September, they actually true up our SEEK payment, and then they'll do it again, I believe, in January after another growth report's submitted. So that's kind of truing up for reverting back to our current ADA funding. Utility taxes was $257,000 for the month. That includes the months of both August and September. We typically only receive one utility tax payment per month. It lags a month, but just to the timing of receipt by the state, it actually included August and September payments. Interest income was $63,000. We collected $2,000 in property taxes, $40,000 in motor vehicle tax, $17,000 in delinquent tax, $14,000 in Medicaid, and then a $41,000 transfer from our Fund 2 for our SFC technology match. So if you recall, we actually transfer money out of a grant to the general fund to transfer back and match state offers of assistance. So we basically double money without using any taxpayer dollars for technology purchases. Year-to-date revenue is a little over $4 million, and then you can see the breakdown by the categories below. Expenditures month-to-date total $4,969,000. That's up 16.3% through October of last year. Last year's total was $4,273,000. And again, I have provided a spend by function, which is how it's captured by the school report card. And then, as I reported before, we spent some money on math, curriculum, and flood-related expenses that have kind of attributed to that 16.3% increase. And then salary, I do want to point out, salary and benefits for the year, with the raises we have, we're only up, let me pull that up, I apologize. Because of some vacancies we have across the district, we're only up about 6% year to date. So that's running favorable than what was projected by budget. So I had that noted in the breakdown that's attached to the board report. Special Revenue Fund, Fund 2, month-to-date revenue is $484,000. We received $420,000 via federal grants through our federal cash request. We received $20,000 of state grant payments, $10,000 for the first of 2 Kentucky ASAP payments, and $10,000 again, which is one of 2 payments for Community Ed grant. We also received our quarterly payment of $3,000 for a United Way grant, which is local. Year-to-date revenue is $1,936,000, and I provided the breakdown between federal, state, and local grants. Year-to-date expenditures for our special revenue fund are $1,376,000. Again, with the largest portion of those expenditures, 84%, or $1,152,000 being spent directly back on student instruction. Our district activity fund, Fund 21, there's no significant activity to report. Fund 25 will be updated at the end of the fiscal year. Fund 310, there's no activity to report. Our Fund 320, we transferred $34,447 to our debt service fund for an interest payment on our 21 bonds. That bond payment was due December 1st. Construction fund, Fund 360, we dispersed $52,820 in architect fees for the Layvec project. That's primarily the schematic and design development portion of the project. Debt service fund, we received the $34,447 from the 320 for the interest payment, and we issued the related bond payment to Old National Trust. Proprietary funds, beginning with food service, month-to-date receipts were $87,000. We recorded $6,800 in interest income. Food service was also received $65,000 of supply chain assistance, $4,300 in non-reimbursable meals, $3,000 in contract meals. And I'd just like to point out, typically for the month of August, we would have received the CNIPS or the federal reimbursement claim for September. We actually didn't receive it till November 3rd. So anticipate, and that was to the tune of $180,000. So in November, our federal reimbursement will probably be substantially higher just because of the timing of payment. It was right when the government shut down. There was a potential government shutdown, so I believe they delayed payments. And then those issues were resolved, so payments were freed back up. Year-to-date expenditures, $513,000 is actually a 45% or $160,000 increase over prior year-to-date of $353,000. Primary difference is in the property category, which are equipment. We've had equipment purchases of $106,000, which $50,000 that was through grant. The equipment assistance grants there were two $25,000 amounts. We just haven't received the proceeds yet. Daycare fund, Fund 52, we recorded state tuition payments of $13,000 into the Apples program and $3,000 of interest income, and they spent $528 for supplies. So that's the finance report for the month of October. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morris. Do I have a motion to approve the financial report?
So,
Mr. Clifton made the motion. Do I have a second?
second.
Ms. Martin made a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed. Motion carried. Next item is approval of payment of bills. Do I have a motion to approve payment of bills?
So moved.
Ms. Martin made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Clifton made the second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed. Motion carried. Next item is approval of expenses for superintendent's office. Is there any questions for Ms. Morris or Ms. Shepherd? Do I have a motion to approve the expenses for the superintendent's office?
So moved.
Mr. Gatton made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hagan made the second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed. Motion carried. Okay, next item, public comments. There weren't any. Next item is approval of a consent agenda with the exception of 6 and 14. Number 1, acknowledgement of personnel report. Number 2, travel report. Number 3, request for fundraisers. Number 4, trip requests. Number 5, leave of absences. Number 7, policy 01.11, general powers and duties of the board, application for grants, second reading. Number 8, policy 03.4, substitutes, long-term substitute pay, second reading. Number 9, approval of Form BG5 for BG 22-210, UCHS HVAC replacement main gym. Number 10, approval of final payment for BG1, BG 22-210, UCHS HVAC replacement main gym. Number 11, approval of final payment for BG1, BG 22-276 vocational roof. Number 12, approval of owner architect agreement BG 23-171 vocational building renovation, multipurpose and maintenance building. Number 13, request for shortened school day. Number 15, facility use agreement, Union County ABA. Number 16, MOU, Union County Sheriff Office SRO at UCHS. Do I have a motion to approve 1 through 16 as read?
So moved.
Mr. Clifton made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Gatton made a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed. Motion carried. All right, now let's go back to number 6, policy 01.1, student board representative, second reading. Go ahead, Mr. Clifton.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate you pulling it out to talk about it again. We've had several discussions over the last few meetings, and I was the only one that had some questions and some concerns about how it was written. Again, not against having a student board representative, but some of the ways it's written, some of the language in the policy. You had asked some questions about other school districts that had verbiage that I'm interested in including in there, about the size of the schools and so forth. So about 20% of the districts that have a school board, student school board representative, about 20% of them have a language in there about the student board member not being related directly to the member of the school board and a member of the district, whether it be a classified or certified personnel, anybody that works for the school district. Clark County, they're about 4,900 students. Johnson County is 3,200 students. Woodford County is about 3,800 students. So anyway, I want to get back to you on those questions that you had. But anyway, I don't know if anybody else is interested, but I would like to amend the policy to include, when it talks in that policy about not being related to a board member, I think that's good and wise also. But to also include language in there about, right after that, of our policy, it would be, or an employee of Union County Public Schools. So I'd like to include. Is anybody else interested in adding that kind of language? I'd like to hear comments or thoughts on that.
I thought,
We'd already talked about it.
yeah, I thought we'd already basically discussed that, and I don't recall anyone kind of agreeing that we wanted that, and we gave, some reasoning behind that. I myself, can't speak for everybody else, but I
Sure.
myself, I think, just not being kin to anybody on the board is enough. I think we would be limiting a lot of students if we put it for any employee. And I think we also discussed the fact that they're not voting. So it's just gonna be their input as a student, which that's who we as the board work for. So they're not voting, they're just giving their opinion because they're the ones walking the hallways and dealing with all the policies and the things that we put in place. So since they're not voting, I don't think that it would really be a huge problem. And then I think you said, and I could be getting this wrong because we've discussed it so many times. I think you said something about, like a student could possibly be influenced by someone to come and try to change an opinion or a discussion or something. Didn't you say something to that effect?
Well, there's reasons why, that school board members like us are not allowed to be related to someone that works for the district. And for much the same reason, when we have as a member of the board, we have discussions like about the school.
Yeah.
And just
That,
for conflict of interest reasons, I think it's a smart thing to do.
but, once again, they're not voting. And two,
Correct.
and this is just my opinion, we all have constituents and people in the community in our ear, but once we get here and hear the facts and read the information that's presented to us, we still make the best decision possible. So I don't think that a student board representative is gonna come in here and have something to say that we know what's best for the students, that any of us is going to just change our mind. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I hear you.
So that's my stance, like I don't know, I hope I'm explaining it right. I just don't think that a student coming in here and giving their opinion on something that we're talking about is gonna make anybody on this board, like, have any type of influence, whether it's coming from someone who has their own agenda or whatever. I mean, we all have our own opinions, we all vote the way we wanna vote, regardless. Like, I don't think the same way Mr. Donnie thinks, and I might not agree with Mr. Donnie, but at the end of the day, we have to make a decision on what's based on what's best for the students with the information that we're given. So I don't think with them not having a vote, them just coming and sitting and giving their opinion on decisions that could affect them and their education and learning, I don't think it should be across the board. I think it should stay at just the board members, and that's just my opinion.
One other factor to consider too, I know Greg brought you information, our student body's 2,100.
That, I was gonna say
Yeah,
that.
So that's something to consider because of
That-
how
well,
many
yeah,
in a
yeah, I
small
mean, that's
rural
something that
area, how many
That's
could be
why I
counted.
asked that, because, I
That's
mean,
just-
there's more, I mean, it wouldn't affect them as much because, you know, they're bigger. I mean, our town, I mean, we got some families that, I mean, are so like connected that, you know, it could really knock somebody out just for the sake of them just coming and sitting and giving their opinion and adding some value to their educational environment. So I just don't think it's needed. That's just me. Someone else can.
Student
chime in.
population is relative also. I mean, yes, we have 2,100 compared to 3,800 or 4,000, whatever it might be, but those schools also employ more people. So it's all relative on student population.
I'm kind of with you, Lonnie. I know we've already talked about this at length, and personally, I'm ready to make a motion to accept it as written on the second reading.
All right, Mr. Gatton made the motion. Do I have a second? Do you have a second to leave it as is?
So leave it as, not
Yes,
change and leave it
not-
as is.
Yeah, not change it to leave it as is.
Second.
Ms. Martin made the motion, made the second. All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. All opposed?
No.
No. Chad, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. It will be a
Did everybody vote?
4-1 vote, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Motion carried 4-1 vote. All right, next item that you wanted to pull out was transportation handbook revisions, post-accident drug testing.
Yes, so we had this one come up during the last working session, and I understand the intent and the reasoning for the change on that. I guess you don't call it a policy, what do you call it?
It's a handbook.
Handbook revision? And I completely agree, I think it's, it's a hindrance to have to stop and have to drug test a bus driver for something minute that is really not that big a deal, so I fully support it, other than, the first couple, the way it reads as if there is an accident that creates bodily injury and or fatality, that post-accident drug testing is at the discretion of the superintendent or the designee. I think anytime we have a bus, God forbid, have an accident and there's bodily injury, or any district vehicle, bodily injury or death, drug testing should happen automatically. There shouldn't be any discretion there. And the way this currently reads, in that case, there would be discretion. So
Actually-
there's 3 bullet points, the $500 worth of damage incurred, and then the second one is the driver's issued a citation and a fault for violating a driving regulation. Again, you can use discretion to decide, well, it's not that big a deal, we can move on here, but that third one, I think, doesn't need to be included in the.
I thought we addressed
Well,
that,
here's-
and you said there
here's-
wasn't.
Actually, it says, any accident includes bodily injury yourself or others. This includes any accident which fatality, that's automatically. The last line that says post-accident drug testing is at the discretion of superintendent of his or her designee, that comes directly from the previous one. It's listed there too. And so they just kept that. It says post-accident drug testing is at the discretion of superintendent. Most definitely, we address that at the working session. If there's ever any other things above that, most definitely. What we're saying is, they wanted to keep that one line, Shane, you correct me if I'm wrong, that says post-accident drug test at the discretion of the superintendent, because for all those things, we definitely want it to happen, Greg, but then if Shane calls and says, yes, this was just a limb, Ms. Shepherd, but this also has occurred or something, it's at the discretion where I can make that common sense judgment that, yes, there needs to be. We always err on the side of caution to drug test more than not to drug test. So I think probably, the confusion was, this is the last sentence there, and what they're saying is, all this will happen with drug screening, but then if there's anything that is minute, like what you're talking about, any of those things will be at my discretion, like it was over here from the past, handbook, that was also from the past handbook.
All past the.
Yeah, I don't know that you were virtual, we talked
Right.
about it, but,
I could hear you just fine.
right, but this is what was in the past one, and maybe that's the confusion because you didn't have a copy of the past handbook, but that was, same sentence was in there too.
Can we rewrite this to make it more clear? Because the way this reads, it sounds like any of these drug testing guidelines are at the discretion of the superintendent or the designee. And that's for an hour in the future. It's not Ms. Sheffer or Mr. Smith or
Right,
whoever the
right,
designee.
whoever the next
I mean, this
superintendent
is
is,
for-
sure.
I can see what you're
Whoever's
saying,
the
Greg,
superintendent.
because if you just read it without knowing what the meaning is, like you're saying.
Right.
That last sentence does say that, I mean, by the way it reads, you would still have the option of saying, no, we're not gonna do it this time.
Right.
Maybe,
There needs
I
to be
know what the
space.
meaning of it is, but maybe saying, additional post-accident screening, for additional, post-accident screening for additional accidents or something like
For
that.
any other occurrences. It
Any
needs to
other
be,
occurrences.
what
That
I,
would make
Something like that.
Just something
Yeah.
for
Make it
clarification.
What I think we
That
could-
would clarify it a lot more.
what I think we could do, Greg,
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry.
what I think we could do, Mr. Clifton, is have Shane take it back to transportation, sit down, talk with them, move a space between that and put an asterisk there by that, and put in addition to.
That makes sense.
That way
But that way it's
this is gonna
clarified.
happen, and then in addition to that, the superintendent has discretion for other
Any other
occurrences.
occurrences, any other type of.
Because
Any
I
other-
understand what you're saying, and it is, it's always gonna happen with those three, but that's giving you a little way to do it any other time. But if you just read it the way it reads, it is,
Right.
that would
And I
clarify.
think
it.
that's their intent, correct, Shane? But if we put a space between that and put an
Yeah, I like
asterisk
that.
and put any other occurrence, then put in addition to, the superintendent can.
I agree with the 10, but I think it's excellent what you're wanting to do, but.
So do we
Because
need to
it's-
table it?
it's,
Yeah.
you know,
So-
undo.
We can either table it or you
Strip.
can approve it with amendments, requested amendments, either one.
Let's go on and table it, and then we'll
I guess
look at
it's-
it
Can we
next.
just wait another month and do this? or
Will that be
does it
fine?
Really mess y'all up as far as.
Or if you have what the wording's gonna be, we could approve, yeah, he hates to wait another month in case something happens.
Yeah, we can approve it with
So-
amendments if you're okay with that, to amend it to
That
what
amendment, where it says in addition,
Greg. With
Anybody
an
I
action.
didn't, I didn't write up an amendment or, you know, a change in this, but.
In addition,
how about in addition, other post-accident drug testing is at the discretion of the superintendent or his or her, or his or her designee.
other occurrences.
I think the reason why we shouldn't wait is the fact that we have inclement weather.
Exactly,
anytime.
because you may have a lot coming up.
And it just needs to be a space here, and then this needs to be an asterisk.
And we're so short, critically short on drivers, it would just take a lot of rotation for.
And that would dig deeper into the rotation of substitute drivers we have as well.
Shane, would you like to come up and take a look and see how you like the wording?
Sure.
There's only one.
She's kind of jotting down something there.
So these three bullets are together, these first two would stay, but then put a space here, this would be a space.
In addition to.
And then in addition, other occurrences of post-accident drug tests at the discretion.
Yes, ma'am. I think that's fine. And I understand what you're saying too, Greg.
So we can do it with amendment of, we'll put a space between the second and third bullet,
Right.
and then put in addition, other occurrences of post-accident, pull it down and continue that sentence. Post-accident occurrences at discretion.
You wanna see that?
Yeah, can we
Yeah.
pass it around? everybody look
Yeah,
at
I
it?
just drew an arrow. Basically, what we'll
okay.
do is move that one line down, put a space there, and then put it in addition to other post
Yeah.
in front of that last line,
Saying that.
so it'll make it clearer.
Yeah.
So I agree when that was the intent, but it's how the,
Is this the old one? This is the old one?
Yeah, and that's.
the O one's on the other side. Yeah. See how to have the line there too. The front is.
Okay, I thought you were saying all three of these would require drug or testing.
We'll separate those two. The two at the top, those two bullets definitely require it. But the last line, the bullet that we had, that's just saying it's at the discretion of the superintendent. So we'll put a space between it and move it down and say, in addition, any other post accident would be at the discretion of the superintendent.
Yeah, I'm not following you. So the first two would require alcohol and drug testing or not? Yeah, they would, okay. All three of these require drug testing.
Correct.
Okay, why would you separate them then? I guess I don't understand.
Well, because I want to distinguish that there's other things that might not require drug testing, but it would be at my discretion if there's other occurrences that happen. That's where we're gonna have to sit and have a conversation.
And that's just saying where in addition, if there was something else that she thought required a drug test besides those.
Besides
bullets,
those,
she could still request it, so there might be something where it had $250 worth of damage to property, but she thought.
but if I felt like we
Drug
needed drug tests, because it's a different occurrence, I can do that other than what's listed. It's basically any other occurrence that's not listed, any occurrence that's not been listed, but I feel like there's a
She
need.
could still ask for one.
But if I feel like there's still a need for a drug screen, I can do that. That's what I'm saying, in
As long as
addition,
all three, you're saying all three of these,
would
if one
require,
of these occurs, drug or alcohol testing would ensue,
yes,
regardless of superintendent or designated
Exactly.
discretion.
yes.
That's very similar to what a lot of workplaces do too. They
Yeah,
have- they have
that's-
that.
But there's
Plus-
times where
plus
there may be
that-
something that's like,
I mean, other workplaces I'm familiar with have done. the
So-
same.
In our industry, that's what, this is the
Look
thing that we
at-
look for. If
you wanna
there's
look
been
at
a
it, Ted?
death, if there's been an injury,
Yes.
or if it's the
Fatality.
vehicle's damaged to the point where it has to be towed.
anytime
That's
there's,
kind of
if insurance is gonna be involved,
Yeah.
you're gonna get a drug screen.
Yeah.
You know, so there's other occurrences that I might say, hey, or I just might know somewhere, I feel like it needs to, but
So like the situation like with the backwater in the bus,
Did
last
you-
year,
That's
Chad, did you
automatic.
look at
that's
it?
automatic, even if there wasn't damage to the.
Automatic.
Ms. Shepherd,
It's got
Chad didn't
kids.
get a chance to take.
I got it.
She's got it, he's got it right now.
yeah, that would be automatic. Anytime there's if there's a police involved.
So there could be a judgment situation where in this, like that.
That would be a third.
Okay, I drove in here, I made a
If
mistake.
if you did anything
be
that goes
30.
against what you were trained to do, you're automatically gonna have a drug screen.
Okay.
I'd say that situation would have warranted number one and number two.
Yeah, that's a.
Automatic, without
two.
even-
If you put a life in danger, it's automatic.
That's a one.
Well, I know there was, numbers for like swipe, like losing a mirror or,
Right.
something like,
Right.
as long as it touches every,
This is more minor, like the limb hit it, but it didn't hurt the mirror.
I knew what the
Right,
intent was,
right.
I just.
Yeah, I
just
understood the
read
intent
through it.
too, when I was going
But
through
that
the documents.
that is good clarification.
it's just sometimes when you think, we got it all covered, there's always that one
Right.
scenario.
And you want clarity, like what Greg's saying, because.
Yeah, it makes sense, I agree, the
For
wording
future.
on it,
Because
and
They look at it and they
legally,
know what they mean, they know the intent, but then when you read it so many times, it's like, you understand what it is, but somebody else may.
legally too, it could,
Well, here's the
know,
thing,
whatever.
law always supersedes board policy, which I know board policy supersedes handbooks things, so you always gotta go with law first. So no matter what we have in handbook, then that law is gonna supersede that.
Okay. Do I have a motion with the revisions that we all just looked at?
As amended,
Yes.
And then we'll send that back out to you.
yeah, I move to accept the transportation handbook revisions, post-accident drug testing as amended.
As amended. Okay, Mr. Gadden made the motion, do I have a second?
second.
Mr. Hagan made a second, all in favor? Aye. All opposed. Motion carried. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Hagan made a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Gadden made a second. All